Mimi Mwai Kibaki naapa kwamba
Mwai Kibaki took over power from his one-time boss Daniel Arap Moi in 2002 after an overwhelming victory as well as public goodwill from Kenyans. His swearing-in ended more than 40 years of single-party rule.
Have embarked on a journey.
His inaugural speech was hard-hitting. He promised to set things right in what he termed as a nation ravaged by years of misrule and ineptitude. By the end of his 10-year rule, his report card had mixed grades as those who closely watched his rule report.
It is true that he was the gentleman of Kenyan politics, and that he was not given to vendetta, to insults, to witch hunting, and those kind of things. And that he was very, very focused on what he needed to do in terms of nation building. And he achieved a lot. But there were also a lot of failures and a lot of contradictions in both his public and private life.
On taking on power, he hit the ground running, introducing universal free primary education that in the first year saw 1.7 million children join school.
I think that was a very bold decision he had to make, and in many ways it brought change.
Without proper infrastructure in place to handle the numbers, classrooms were bursting at the seams, following the congestion that analysts say was just a temporary setback.
To me, the challenges came. Those challenges were going to come even if we had taken time to plan. However, what we have failed to do is to now learn from those challenges that came and take deliberate measures to remedy them.
He also launched infrastructure development, including multi-million-dollar roads and rail projects that opened up the country and boosted economic growth in East Africa's biggest economy.
The infrastructure that we are seeing in this country, he's the one who started it fearlessly. We used to go everywhere in this country in potholes. You can hardly now get into a road which has potholes.
Some of those who worked closely with him, both in government and the opposition, remember him as an astute debater in parliament and a man of few words, a political gentleman, they called him.
And also simply in terms of changing the mindsets of Kenyans, that a president is not a god. He did not insist that on being on TV every day just because he has gone to church or is having lunch. He did not insist on this culture of hero worship and building monuments to himself. He did not care about having roads named after him and railways and stadiums and schools. And I think that has really changed even the way Kenyans look at leadership.
I have very fond memories of President Kibaki. I think he simply rates the best, because I lived under President Kenyatta, President Moi, and now President Uhuru. I think he had exceptional gifts.
Mwai Kibaki.
While he kept to most of his campaign pledges, he, according to analysts, squandered the goodwill that Kenyans had accorded him. He failed to end high-level corruption. Indeed, several of his cabinet ministers and close friends were caught up in graft. His action stopped at firing them.
I do know that when the Anglo-leasing issue exploded, he was very ruthless in getting rid of those around him whose activities might be tarnishing his own name. But he did not go far enough in terms of prosecutions of the key figures. I think what the people who were prosecuted were what might have been called the implementers, not the beneficiary, not the ultimate beneficiary. So he stopped at some point when it got too close to home. And that, of course, made the whole issue of fighting, of him being a crusader against corruption, nonsense.
The greatest stain on his legacy will, however, remain his controversial swearing in at night after his disputed victory in the 2007 elections. The aftermath was the post-election violence, which left 1,100 people dead and thousands more displaced.
I think it is the biggest stain in his legacy, because it need not have happened. We came out of 2002, or we came out of the Kanu era, Moi era, with so much hope. Then we descended to the bottom. Tribalism, again, another big failure, because he did not build on the hope that was there.
But when the violence became too much, even when his own people were telling him there's no need to talk with the opposition, I think he made a decision that there was no other way but to talk and have an agreement that would bring peace to the country.
That electoral violence, some believe, led to the referendum that endorsed a new constitution, seen as a cure to Kenya's cyclical electoral violence.
His days in the opposition had convinced him that, we needed a new order. And talking to him about bringing those constitutional changes was not difficult at all, and persuading him. I remember in his office at Harambee House, when the religious community came to talk to him and wanted to denigrate the constitutional making process because of the provisions about the right to life, the provisions about, Qadi's courts and so on. And he was unconvinced. And they told us at that time, and Raila was in the room because he was the Prime Minister at that time, he said, let's move on. Those who disagree will catch on with us.
In 2013, Kibaki handed over power to his godson, Uhuru Kenyatta, going into a quiet retirement. Mwai Kibaki, 1931 to 2022. May his soul rest in eternal peace. Sarah Kimani, SABC News, Kenya.